I'm Jen, and I'm CEO of Shelby Farms Park Conservancy, a Memphis nonprofit organization that runs one of the largest urban parks in the country. Before you ask, yes, I've seen the TV show Parks and Rec. No, I'm not the real-life Leslie Knope. We're actually very different. You know, the TV show is about government in a small town, whereas what I do is about a nonprofit that runs a public park. It's really totally different. I have some charts and binders that I could use to demonstrate the difference if you want to see me after. As for what I actually do, I joined up as the first employee of this nonprofit supporting Shelby Farms Park back in 2006. I was just a couple of weeks outside of graduation from Rhodes College. I needed to make some money to pay for grad school. I had dreams of becoming a professor or a literary critic, wanted to live in a library for the rest of my life. And then I met Shelby Farms Park. And once I got involved, the park's magnetic pull was too strong for me to resist. 12 years later, I'm still here. I've seen our company grow from 2 employees to more than 40. I've seen this unlikely piece of property transform into one of the great urban parks in the country. And I've seen a city begin to transform along with it. Today, I want to share with you why I'm so Leslie Knope level obsessed with parks, and I want some of that passion to rub off on you. I want you to think differently about parks and public space than maybe you do today. And I want you to understand the tremendous power and potential of our public realm. So, why parks? With all the challenges that our communities face today, why focus on parks and public space? I know that parks can't solve all of our problems, but I believe that communities that invest in their parks and public realm are going to be more prepared to offer meaningful solutions to a wide variety of issues. I also believe that parks can be magnets for talent, resources, optimism, hard conversations, quality of life indicators that cities need if they want to compete and succeed in a global economy. Now, urban parks in this country really first started to be built around the 19th century when cities were growing, and they were originally planned for city workers to be able to relax in nature. As cities started to grow around these green spaces, eventually they would add things like zoos or art museums, creating a regional draw. Eventually, these regional draws sort of gave way, and the cities gave way to suburban sprawl in post-World War II years. Things began to change. But times are still changing, and urban cores are being repopulated and renewed, and smart communities are recognizing that they need to change their strategy. They're recognizing the tremendous potential that parks in the public realm have to strengthen our urban fabric. And they're recognizing the return on investment that's possible for communities that are willing to invest in parks in the public realm. So, the parks that you're probably familiar with, the most famous, Central Park in New York, Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, Lincoln Park in Chicago, Shelby Farms Park in Memphis. I snuck that one on the list, but it will be on the list legitimately one day, I promise. These places are more than parks where city workers go to relax in nature. They draw tourists. Tourists spend money on things like dining, on hotels, on entertainment. It's also about quality of life. Who here lives near a park? Anybody lucky enough? Wow. Who here wishes that they lived near a park? Of course. Everybody wants to live near parks and trails. These amenities have an incredible impact on increasing property value in the areas where we live. They increase our quality of life. When we first got started at Shelby Farms Park, we spent a lot of time trying to paint a picture for people to help them understand what was possible at the park. We knew that we were onto something when we began seeing representatives from local companies bringing potential recruits to the park to try to entice them to move to Memphis, saying to them, if you move to Memphis to work for my company, this could be your park. They got it. And that was important for us. In a world where workers can choose where they want to live and then where they want to work, smart cities are taking quality of life issues like public parks seriously. In a livable community, Companies are able to attract and retain the people that they need to build talented teams. Young people stay in a city. They don't need to leave for opportunities because opportunities exist where they are. Parks can also have a tremendous impact on our health. In America, 1 in 5 kids is overweight. But studies show that if you live near parks and trails, you're more likely to exercise more often. So what would happen if every kid in every city in America had safe and easy access to a vibrant parks and trail system? Generally, seniors comprise only about 4% of park visitors, although they make up about 20% of the overall population. The same study showed a well-placed investment in building a walking loop in a park could see the number of active seniors double. Strategic investments in our parks and public realm can be used to influence behavior in a way that helps us solve problems in our community. So now you all believe that we need to be investing in parks in the public realm because they're magnets for success for a city. Well, what does that look like? In a time in which a lot of cities were trying to reclaim brownfields or renovate existing parks, Memphis found itself with an incredibly rare opportunity to transform 4,500 acres of a prison farm into a public park. Shelby Farms Park is huge. It's about 5 times the size of Central Park in New York, and it's located near the center of population density in the region. It's a great opportunity that doesn't exist in other cities. It's very, very rare. The reason that it even exists as one piece is because although it was declared surplus in 1960, after the penal farm closed, and developers were trying to buy it all the time, each time a proposal would come up, citizens would rise up and demand that the land be preserved for public use. That's why the land still exists. Eventually, people began using the vast acres as a park to ride their bikes, ride their horses, to come out and walk. But Shelby Farms Park faced the same threats that many urban parks face. They didn't have a plan, and it wasn't adequately funded. Parks that don't have a plan can become overdeveloped over time. They can be filled with short-sighted additions. When parks aren't adequately funded, they can fall into disrepair. They start to feel unwelcoming and unsafe. People stop coming to them. When people don't come to a park, they don't value it. When parks aren't valued, they're at risk. So we knew that the park needed a plan. And in order to build that plan, we knew that we needed the community. We could see these threats looming in the future of Shelby Farms Park, but we could also see the potential for the park to be great and for it to have a positive impact that rippled out into the community for generations, a spark that could ignite a movement that could unleash pent-up demand for bike lanes, public trails, public parks, and it did. For more than a decade, I've had our vision statement memorized. I was there when it was written. It's practically tattooed on my heart. And now it's my job to carry the torch and to teach the words to others. Our vision is to give rise to a celebrated 21st century park that defines and shapes a great city. That sounds great, right? Well, what does it mean? What's a 21st century park and why does that matter? A 21st century park is one that's intentionally designed to respond to the specific dreams and hopes and needs of a community today, and to anticipate those same dreams and hopes and challenges of tomorrow. It's one that serves as a magnet for the talent and resources that it needs to succeed. So, in order to fulfill that very lofty vision, we engaged the public to help us build a master plan that was specifically designed to respond to their hopes and dreams. As a result, we had a shared community vision and a deep collective sense of determination to get it done. Shelby Farms Park today is a vibrant and beautiful public space. Every day it draws people from all across our community to come together. Let's go back to my metaphor about magnets for a minute. One of the most incredible powers Shelby Farms Park has had is the ability to attract what it needed to succeed. Talent, resources, energy, people, from business leaders to volunteers to incredibly talented staff members. The park brings the best people together. It also attracted $10 million in funding from state and local government, and then leverage that for a whopping $60 million in private funding to build the first phase of our master plan. I promise I'm not telling you this to brag about how good we are at fundraising, although that is pretty impressive, I know. I want you to know that in Memphis, we cast a big, bold vision. And in Memphis, we raised the money to get it done. That's important. I'm proud of the work that we've done at Shelby Farms Park, not just because of the park's physical beauty, but because Memphis now serves as a blueprint for any community that's willing to work hard and dream big. Just a few weeks ago in Memphis, a coalition of activists and citizens and government officials collaborated to take down Confederate statues in 2 of our city parks. To many, these statues represented oppression and hatred, the things that divide us, when our parks and our public spaces are supposed to bring us together. This was a really important moment. The act of removing these statues represents who we are today. It doesn't change who we were yesterday, but it says something about who we're trying to be. From the monuments that we build to the ones that we tear down, from the health of the wildlife and ecosystems at our parks to the quality of the educational programming that we design, the work that we do in our public realm is important because it reflects our shared values as a community. We live in a time when people trust each other less and less. Studies show that our neighborhoods are becoming more economically segregated. Society feels fragmented, less cohesive. We communicate with one another less often face-to-face and more often on social media networks where extremism and people being provocative is rewarded with attention, where our empathy is eroded by the ability to say unkind things from the mask of anonymity or from the safety of physical distance. These are 21st century problems. In a time when we feel like we're more divided than ever, parks can be our common ground. More than anything else, parks are magnets for people. They draw together people from all over a community if they're well designed and well maintained. They pull us together. And I believe that time spent in public parks can help each of us restore our empathy, spend time with strangers, encounter people from different backgrounds, and see our own humanity reflected back. Our parks, trails, waterfronts, bike lanes, these important public amenities are so powerful. They have the ability to be magnets for optimism, generosity, empathy, inclusion, equity, all of the things that a city needs. I also believe that parks can bring out the best in us. And when we get it right,